Welcome to the Kortex Media Podcast, Marketing Accelerator, your compass for navigating the dynamic world of marketing and business growth. I'm Korson Schmidt, founder of Kortex Media. Our mission is to equip marketing agencies with the custom growth solutions they need to unlock massive revenue increases and scale their business. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. Today, we're joined by a true thought leader in the agency space, Chad Hason from Agency Atlas. Chad's journey in the industry spans 3 decades, deeply rooted in Calgary, and he's not just an agency owner, but also a recently published author. His book, Brand is a Verb, just hit bestseller status. Agency Atlas operates on 2 core values, talent and give a shit, philosophy that underpins their brand-focused, full-service approach. Chad, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Korson. Good to be here.
Hey, no worries. By the way, love the inspiration. I love the core values behind Agency Atlas. 2 most important things, talent and give a shit. You need people to give a shit on what they're doing and give a shit in what you believe in and where you want to take the company. So I love that. I just want to add that in there. So
thanks, man.
Starting things off, what was the inspiration behind Agency Atlas and how did you get into brand marketing at the beginning of your journey?
Oh, okay. Well, that's kind of 2 separate questions. So I'll start with the second question first. I've always been a man of limited skills. I've had the ability to talk, think quickly, and write. And so when I looked at my postgraduate options, I really couldn't do anything that was like math or science. I was really focused on communication type stuff. And so I went and got my Bachelor of Applied Communications degree in public relations. That was the one career that I saw I could really capitalize on the natural and somewhat professional skills that I'd had up to that time. So I took that degree. It was heavy on writing and speaking in front of people and all the things that I liked. I did a pretty good job, graduated with honors. And I hated every minute of it after that. So I did about 2 years in PR and I found myself covering for stuff. I was telling stories, but there was a lot of spin. I mean, I'm not coming at PR. There's a ton of good public relations, but there's a lot of, I went into crisis communication. That was what I wrote my thesis on. So I was working for some not-for-profits that had some pretty heavy topics to cover. And I was always on the defense. I was always trying to find ways to spin a negative into a positive, and it was exhausting. And then, so I took a break. I took a summer job at Canada Olympic Park here in Calgary. It was the venue of the 88 Olympics. And it's an inner city ski hill that has a bobsleigh and luge and skeleton track and ice rinks and a half pipe. And so I went there to just kind of learn how to snowboard a little bit better, maybe get some good contra deals with their partners, and just have a fun summer. And that ended up turning into about 7 years of running events, understanding what went into marketing events, different audiences, how to attract people, really all kind of marketing stuff. During that time, I was doing media hits and stuff like that, but I really got my eyes opened when they did a rebrand. So just a little crash course, Winsport Canada, owned by the Calgary Olympic Development Association. As soon as you have the word Olympic in your brand, you're really limited in who you can fundraise for. And they wanted to do a massive expansion of their properties. So they had to do a rebrand. And they turned into Winsport Canada is what they are now. And I was there with a front row seat, seeing some agencies and some top branding talents go through that. And I was like, yeah, that's what I want to do. That's what I like. Those are the stories that I want to tell. So after a brief divorce and stint in South America to wait for my paperwork to dry, I came back and joined a marketing agency, Clear Motive Marketing. They had just picked up a massive client in Honda, Canada, and I got a major crash course on what it meant to be a brand strategist. And all it really meant was taking all these skills that I had and applying them a slightly different way, looking at the world a little bit differently, drilling down into a few things that maybe I hadn't considered in the past. And for me, it was one of those round hole, round peg type situations. And so after a few years in someone else's agency, I decided to start my own.
Amazing. I love it. I love the whole story behind it and the full circle behind it as well, right? Like you kind of started off with something different, but at the end, it's kind of pulled into what you're doing now and benefited you in every single way.
Yeah. I mean,
form.
Yeah, marketing and communications typically go hand in hand. So any experience I had worked towards that.
Yeah, yeah. So with Agency Atlas, before getting too deep into this conversation, do you mind just giving us a quick overview of your core services today so people know who you are at Agency Atlas, what you guys do? Maybe there's someone in the area, or maybe there's someone looking for your type of work.
Of course. Yes, we are a full service agency. We have a big team in-house. Our offices are in Inglewood, Calgary, which is just east of the downtown core. We are full service in so much as we approach marketing, communications, advertising, full picture, driven by strategy. And obviously we leave no stone unturned in the solutions that we provide. It's sort of a bit of a common theme that if you own a not full service agency, or if you don't view your options across the board, then if you specialize in websites, every client that comes to you is surprise going to need a website. Or if your specialty is SEO, then surprise, your biggest challenge is you're not good enough in SEO. So we try to stay agnostic when it comes to the recommendations we have. We really do take a step back. We don't change just for the sake of billing. We're always looking to provide value in the recommendations we make, but rest assured, if you need absolutely anything that falls under those banners, we can provide it. And again, you touched on it, talent and give a shit. Again, we're not bureaucratic. We're a boutique agency. So myself, I'm the brand strategist and CEO, and I also sweep the floors. So we find our clients really appreciate that everyone's truly engaged when they come into our house. You don't get sold by one person that you never see again, or promised by the CEO who's charming as hell, but you never see again. And then inevitably you get handed off to some B or C level talent team. So we really do keep a potent level of talent. So if you're looking for no weak links, that's definitely us. And then you touched on it. We say give a shit is our second value. And again, it requires no talent to give a shit. And that's often what helps us keep the clients. The talent pool is going to be pretty consistent across the board if you look at professional agencies worth their salt. But I think the give a shit isn't. Having integrity, keeping your word, showing up on time, being coachable, cheering for other people's wins, asking how you can help out, finish what you start, staying humble. These are all ways that you can give a shit without really needing to be talented at all. So if you appreciate that type of stuff, an agency that's approachable, that you can get on the phone and that will turn things around quickly and affordably, then yeah, we've found quite a lot of people like working with Agency Atlas.
Oh, that's amazing. And I don't want to get too far into this, but one of the biggest things in this day and age right now that a lot of people see is the work ethic, is that give a shit of of your employees being invested in your goals and your clients' goals as well. I feel like that's a huge gap that needs filled in any industry, not even just agencies, not even just marketing, in any industry where your service base is employees, CEOs, everyone working for a company needs to have that give a shit that you guys have at Agency Atlas. Just one point that just needs help, and if you can find the people that do give a shit, you're gonna have a solid team, and it's gonna bring talent at the same time. So just one more question so the audience get to know you just a little bit more. So in the introduction, I had mentioned that you've written a book, best-selling author, bestseller on, I think it was Amazon, right?
No, so local bestseller. We're going after the
local
Amazon bestseller. So yeah. For steps.
Do you mind? Perfect. Do you mind giving us a quick overview on what you have written in that book and what the reader will benefit from reading that book, whether it be business owner, someone just starting marketing? What's your run through in that book?
Yeah. So the book is Brand is Verb. I launched it in September of this year, and it's for anyone that wants to truly embrace brand. Whether you already represent brands and you're not really sure what you're doing or what you're doing right or wrong, or if you find it challenging, or if you think that you don't represent a brand, because we all have our own personal brands, and many of us represent brands that we work for without really knowing how our everyday actions could contribute to their reputation or their brand image. So this book kind of walks you through, and it's a pretty easy read. It's a little thick, but it's 60 chapters. Each one is a couple pages. And basically, I've just been active on LinkedIn and in client meetings for the last decade. And I found the same things that I was regurgitating on a daily basis were landing as profound insight that nobody had ever heard of in these meetings. So, and that's often the case. You don't know how much you know within your own sort of silo of industry until you start talking to people that don't do what you do on a daily basis. So I have the pleasure of meeting so many entrepreneurs and so many business leaders that I get a lot of that. I say I'm fully equipped for cocktail conversations on pretty much any industry because I know just enough from talking to all these entrepreneurs. But I know a lot about brand marketing, what works, what doesn't, what we need to consider. And so I've imparted all of those little nuggets and expanded on them in a little bit. And there's actually even some worksheets in here for anyone that wants to act on what they learn. We provide some questions at the end, and I extend a personal invite to anyone that buys my book or does any of the work that wants to talk to me about it or that has questions or follow-up. I am as available as people get.
Perfect. Amazing. I love the overview. It's super intriguing. It makes me want to buy the book and give it a read as well, because I've noticed with branding, it's something that really sets a lot of companies apart. It really has to, because we have so many. There's everyone's running a business now, especially with the online day and age. Even in the agency world, it's crazy, especially in the marketing side, because you can literally get on a computer. You don't really need to have knowledge in marketing. You can use AI to do it, and you have a marketing agency. And the only thing that's going to set you apart is your brand, is your messaging, and the story behind it. So that's a huge impact on the marketing agency right now. We'll come back to that just in a little bit. I just want to ask you if you can run us through maybe a story on how you at Agency Atlas have really helped the client getting the results that they've been looking for. And then we'll come back into more of that industry trend type of conversation.
Sure thing. Well, every success story I have has the same sort of approach. Once we find a brand, our biggest goal is figure out what your story is to tell and who to tell it to. That's why I'm pretty good at branding, is because it's so simple. I find I always wonder why nobody can do it. We're humans and we're trying to figure out how to attract other humans. So not to get confused with thinking that we are the perfect customer all the time and that anything we think is great is going to be great. Obviously, we want to test things, but it doesn't have to be super complicated. You have an offering that you came up with typically because you recognized a need or a gap or a frustration in some industry. So we already know who you're doing it for by looking for the people that are currently frustrated with what exists. So doing branding for any client, massive success, we find, is when they just came up with a brand in a silo, they threw stuff out, they didn't test it. They assumed half of their marketing was working because they were getting sales, but they weren't really sure what half. So we come in and we really sort of peel back everything about their brand, what the true message is that they're telling, what every action is that they're taking, and the volumes that speaks, and then bring it all back to be purposeful and strategic. And those are some of the bigger wins. We've done some massive rebrands for local and international companies. But our biggest wins are really in making their message easier to understand and easier to access for the audiences. So I know you want some specific case studies, so I'll give you a few. In my cannabis days, we were one of the first companies, Stigma Grow at the time. I worked on the client side, and this is not technically an Agency Atlas win, but this is just a marketing
still one of your wins.
podcast.
Yeah.
So a win's a win-win. So we were one of the first to introduce concentrates. So without getting into the nitty-gritty of cannabis use, and you have dry flower, which pretty much already everybody knows about. That's the joints that you smoke. But then there is more concentrated versions of that where they press out just the good stuff, get rid of the organic materials that don't do anything, and they just focus on the cannabinoids and the terpenes and the potency of the plant. And those are called extracts. And you've probably heard of hash, which is sort of a common one, but we've got diamonds and shatter and butter and batter and diamonds and all these different things that, quite frankly, and again, this is a perfect example, if you're not immersed in the cannabis industry, you wouldn't have any clue what any of those things are. But as a company, we had secured the rights to get those SKUs. We were the company that was allowed to put that out there. So what was happening is our success was based on people purchasing something that they didn't understand and, quite frankly, was intimidating. I'm not going to lie to you. If you've never smoked or if you've never consumed cannabis, starting with concentrates would be like drinking moonshine on your 18th birthday for your first drink, right? It's not necessarily something you want to do casually, or certainly not something you want to approach without understanding it. So that was it. It wasn't very approachable. So and all the brands were like cool brands, right? They it wasn't, the brands weren't approachable either. So I created dab bods. Everybody knows what a dad bod is, and dab is a way of, when you take a hit of a concentrate, it's called taking a dab of it. And so we created dab bods as an approachable, and the tagline was concentrates for everybody. And our goal was to present a brand that was approachable, comfortable. We also wanted to go after adults, like older people with disposable income that were interested in cannabis, but maybe didn't understand what was available to them. So again, the low, you can look it up. It's one of the leading brands even 4 years later. But it was basically just a guy's body with a classic backwards hat that also looks like a bit of a dab rig and a dab. And then we hammered home just basic education. It's funny because I've been plagued with a bit of a list my whole life, but we put out a series, 60 Sticky Seconds with Stigma. And it was basically just talking about all the stigmas surrounding concentrates, what you needed to know. It was sponsored obviously by our brand Dab Bods. And we slowly saw the industry turn around, people starting to be quite interested in concentrate. And then we got into infusions. And now you can see the categories in that area are higher. And that company, although not represented by us anymore, is one of the leading brands. And I believe that the actual branding of it being approachable was one of the bigger wins. And you asked for two, so I'll give you a second one. This one's from Agency Atlas. A couple years ago, I was approached by someone I went to college with, actually, and she had just taken over an energy services company, CDN, and they were looking to rebrand and bring on another company as part of an expansion and growth season that they had. And their biggest problem was their brand CDN made them look very much Canadian. It was actually the initials of their founders, but they were having some challenges. So we did a complete overhaul of their brand and their messaging and their website. We worked with Vec Labs, shout out to them, on some amazing videography. We rewrapped their vehicles, just basically completely changed the tone of their story. And we've seen the growth that has come as a result of that. To their credit, even after a year and a half of us equipping them, they took that ball and they ran with it. Very brand savvy, very brand active, available to be seen everywhere. And as I say, brand is a verb, active in the industry. And again, I like to think that we started them off on the right path, and then equipped them to do that themselves. And again, that's a major differentiator, I think, of our agency. We don't handcuff you. We're here to educate, support, and see you off, very much like our children. We want to support you to be the best that you can be, but when you no longer need us, I mean, you're still going to need some things, but when you no longer need us in all areas, we want you to flourish on your own. Take the learnings that you have here and apply them in-house. So, yeah, there you go. There's two examples of brand making a significant difference in our clients.
No, thank you. Thank you for sharing those, Chad. And it just shows kind of a little bit differently in how you guys do it. And because every agency works just a little bit differently. Everyone has their own morals and how they go about it. So I appreciate you sharing those stories because they are truly amazing, especially with the cannabis side of things, because that was something that was really early that needed a lot of education. You just found a way to make it fun and at the same time resonate with different generations as well. How do you find clients like this, like CDN and some of those bigger companies that you guys are working with right now? Because that is such a compelling story that you just told us.
Man. So yeah, business development is one of the biggest challenges for an agency or for any business. You got to keep everybody fed. You got to keep people coming in, which is why we exist, is to market and advertise for people, help get them in front of the right clients. What's hilarious is then, okay, well then I should be awesome at business development because that's what I do all day, every day. But it's just as difficult for us. I have a ton of competition in this space. It is very much a relationship driven business. So if they don't know me, then they typically treat me the way I treat 90% of the DMs I get from India in LinkedIn, where they tell me that they know everything about me and can change my business despite showing no truth behind those statements. So yeah, it can be tough to find people. So what I've done is I get out there. One of my chapters is, go inside to get the coffee. And it talks about how networking is a 24/7 commitment. You can go to events. You can meet people on the street, you can go out for coffees, but it's not just about handing out your card. It's about finding as many opportunities to provide some form of value for somebody so that they can trust you and come to you when the timing is right. It's planting seeds constantly and then remaining consistent in your brand so that when those seeds come to fruition, you're still the same person that they thought you were when they first met you. So I remain consistent. I put myself out there, and this probably doesn't, this sounds incredibly not humble, but I think more than any CEO running an ad agency in this town, and I would put that up against anything. I'm an active Rotarian, part of Skull International. You can't find a client that I have that I didn't serve by doing something for them for free for first, showing them our value. I am active in my city and community. Again, the number of people that come to me for free support or help or sponsorship for their events, I am constantly putting myself out there and connecting with people that also do that. My core of professional, my tribe, if you will. We always say your vibes attract your tribes. And my tribe is on the exact same page as me. So they're out there promoting me. I'm out there promoting them. We invite each other to each other's events. We introduce each other to our own clients. And that is how I've built this company. I have to date not spent $1 on advertising.
Wow. That's amazing, Chad. That is a huge story. And it's a huge part that a lot of, back to this generation, right? A lot of people don't have work ethic, and a lot of people don't have people skills either. That's one big thing. A lot of people don't, especially with COVID, kind of shut everything down. People got locked away, and people almost got in a mood where they didn't want to speak one-on-one with other people. And it makes it really hard for some people to go out at these events, at these networking events, at these conferences, and speak about themselves, speak about their company, what they do, and who they are. It's something that has changed quite a bit in our daily lives, and for someone to go out and do that and share and spread knowledge and share value, that's one of the biggest things you can do being a CEO of a company. And people will follow you if you can add value to them. They're gonna speak with you, they're gonna talk to you, and they're gonna follow you as well, and speak highly of you if you give them value, because you'll create a strong relationship with the person that you do give value to. And maybe if you're speaking with a company that you think you can help, but maybe they don't have the budget, and even just giving them some little value adds and what they can do now, and then maybe you can work with them later when they get to a budget that they can work with Agency Atlas and kind of really build things out. Or like you said, giving them a free trial to test out your services to make sure it is something that they specifically want and they specifically need in their business. So I love how you brought it down to networking and then building your personal brand at the same time. It all comes back to brand. So I love how you go about that aspect. Now, with that being said, what are some of the most significant trends within marketing? Let's say broader marketing. What are some of the most significant trends you're seeing within broader marketing? And then what are some of the trends within brand marketing as well that you're seeing in the industry right now? And how are they kind of challenging Agency Atlas?
So I'll go with the industry and the technology and kind of split those up. First of all, I just want to be clear. None of us know where our industry is headed, but I think anyone that owns a marketing agency or is heavy in marketing has seen, to your point, massive shifts. So I'm going to look at those two ways. The first one is, I find certainly in my town and pretty much everywhere that I go, people are leaning towards more of a small boutique marketing agency with a few clients that they truly give a shit about, are invested in their success. I think personally, and unfortunately for me, gone are the days where you build this behemoth agency and remain as attractive as some of the more boutiques. I've seen certainly in Calgary some of the best clients go to smaller agencies. So I love that as a boutique agency. But again, it's to my point earlier, it's because of that give a shit. It's because of that connectivity, that approachability, that relationship driven business, which when it comes to brand, I don't see that. There's very few, maybe wealth management where relationship truly is absolutely everything. Because things go wrong. Especially in our industry, things don't work out. Sure. We're artists. Yeah. We try things. We put ourselves out there to find true partners willing to go through it with you thick and thin, and trust that your intentions are pure and trust that you have the ability to get there if they just, give you more than one shot at it. So I think that's different. I also say, and I think I'm sort of leading this one to the chagrin of a lot of my peers, I don't charge for strategy. I don't charge for proposals. A lot of people make their money on what could be. And hey, try this. And did it work or didn't it work? Who cares? I'm done. Where's my 30 grand? So I treat the strategy phase and the proposal phase as an opportunity for us to really examine fit. And I think a good fit is something that drives most business relationships these days. Again, I talk about it in my book, but we have so much opportunity to know who the person truly is across the table from us by creeping them online. Or, we have access to everything they've said and done over the last few years. So I think relationship driven and as a result, more boutique engaged type business is a trend that I'm happy about. And then the elephant in the room, AI. Absolutely massive game changer. Anyone that tells you it isn't is probably going to be, serving you fries in a little bit. That's if they still in McDonald's. But AI has evolved how we do things, how we look at things, but it has not eliminated the need for us. And you touched on this at the very beginning. It was all I could do not to jump into it, but creativity, I believe, will be the great equalizer. Sorry, AI is the great equalizer. Creativity will be the great differentiator. So we always say when everybody is exactly the same from a talent standpoint, at least perception wise, then the only difference is how you do it or why you do it or who's doing it. That's brand. So I believe your brand story, to your point, will be the true differentiator moving forward. Again, if I can, if every cup I see is exactly the same, then I'm going to buy my cup from the guy that I like the best. That's brand. So I see that as AI as a major disruptor. Having said that, our agency has been able to scale significantly while keeping the same people. I was about to hire a project manager to take on a few new clients that we brought on. Instead, we automated all of our systems. So my meetings get recorded. They get transcribed automatically. They get turned into a creative brief automatically based on the categories of the brief. My employees get notified automatically. It gets uploaded into their time tracking and project management tracking systems, and I automatically start an invoice. So what would have taken probably a full day after a meeting is now done by the time I get back to my desk.
Amazing,
of course, AI isn't perfect. We still have to check it out, but what used to take me 10 hours now takes me 15 minutes. So it's drastically changing how fast we can do it. And to this, I say, if your agency is not passing along some of the price efficiencies that comes with the evolution of our industry, then I would say they don't give a shit about you. Every time we bring in some sort of new tool, we adjust accordingly. My goal is to be a great partner to other brands, not to leverage advantages to my own wins off your back. So I think that the people that embrace that and do that become more efficient, more successful, able to scale, and then show the world that they're able to share in that efficiency and that the fact that it's a little bit easier or faster, that'll be the successful agencies moving forward. And then I'm just going to say one last thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
And I've been very transparent with my employees. I think in 5 years, maybe not even 5 years, hopefully 5 years for the sake of all my employees and teams. But I see very quickly small companies with amazing tools and a creative mind being able to serve brands that previously needed teams of 15 or 20. So I could see a surge of sole proprietors, really small boutique agencies, taking on a few massive clients so they can totally pay their bills, but utilizing the tools and automation and just the ease of use of all this AI stuff, to build websites just by talking, to create assets just by feeding prompts and then allowing automation and workflow processes to take over. So I definitely think in a few years, there will be very few massive agencies where you have a team of like 15 serving you. But that's just what I think.
Yeah, and time will tell, right? We'll see what the future brings us, and you have a great perspective on where you think it's going to be, and I have a similar perspective as well. I feel like we're going to have certain very, very boutique agencies that will be just human-based, but how are they going to compete with these AI agencies as well? It's going to be quite a different landscape and quite a different world. But back to what you said, leveraging these AI tools to just make your work a little bit better with a story that is truly compelling and relationship that's truly compelling with the people that you're working with as well. So great points there.
Yeah, story doesn't go away.
No, for sure. And with you guys, I know like AI, if you guys aren't using it now, it's something that you need to learn, you need to start using it, like the automations, like you said yourself. Where else are you looking to expand with automation? Because it's always changing. There's always new things being dropped. It's such a hard landscape to navigate. And how are you guys kind of navigating that playing field of these new tools coming out every day, and trying to integrate with these to just make every efficiency just a little bit faster?
Well, first of all, I surround myself with people smarter than me. I think probably my greatest skills are finding great people to work with and getting the hell out of the way. So I have Carl and Sep. Sep's in-house. Carl's been a buddy of mine forever. Sep, shout out to Corridor, and Carl, shout out to and Jeff, 0 to 60 AI. So they keep me informed. If I was to pull up my Slack account right now, I can show you every week or so, or every 4 days, Carl sharing something with me of what's going on in the industry. And every once in a while, you'll say, let's have lunch and talk about it. So we just did that last week, talking about some opportunities for AI. And so I stay in the know by trusting people that I know have my best interests in mind. Mm-hmm. So I see that happening. As far as how we're leveraging it, I'll be honest, I think the only other way that we're really truly benefiting from automation is in our CRMs. So we typically build in HubSpot, although we are agnostic. We do a ton of WordPress and Shopify and even Wix and Squarespace and Drupal, whatever the heck you want. But what we like about HubSpot is their ability to track engagement throughout their sites and use that knowledge to better categorize a client for what they value, what they're interested in, so that we're then feeding in response that which has the best chance of resonating with them. So again, you have somebody come through your website today, who knows what they did, right? Well, we got analytics and we got the bounce rate and we know what country they came from. That's not enough. Maybe it'll tell you, what country you need to stop focusing on or start focusing on, or what sex or age group is not showing up. But just because they got there doesn't mean that they liked it. So attracting them is never going to be enough. We need to know that they found value when they were here, and then we need to build on that value. I constantly hammer into my clients that we are all selfish, lazy, apathetic human beings, even the best of us. Everything is fed to us in real time. We can have everything we want at the touch of a button. So if you're not providing that, you are going to be viewed as insufficient to their needs. Well, how do we know how to be sufficient to their needs if we don't know what their needs are? And that is where automation that triggers notices to us or categorizes somebody's truly what they value based on their experience on the website. That's something that we do through HubSpot. It's automated, so they click on something that qualifies them to go into this list, which is going to give them more information that builds on what they clicked on, or they're bouncing out of something, or their open rate is next to nothing. We have to assume they're not interested, and then we have to either switch up how we approach to them or what we bring when we approach them. So just paying attention to absolutely everything. As humans, we're pretty good at it. If I say something that offends you right now, I'm going to see your facial expression, and if I'm trying to be attractive to you, I'm going to adjust what I say. Automation and AI is really allowing us to do that for digital experiences that we would otherwise not be able to view. So I think, I don't know that is the most state of the art. To be honest, we've been doing that for a few years now, getting better at it. But that is how we've kind of leveraged it. And then on the other side, if I go back to the conversation and lunch we had with Carl, we really are looking at how to automate stuff like ad spend. So your typical, actually, there's a great answer. I don't know why I should have started with this. Damn. So if you deal in digital marketing at all, you recognize that you throw your best chance at success out there, and then you monitor what the success rate is, right? Who's clicking on it? Who's clicking through and purchasing? What are your conversions? Any KPI or metrics that you've identified, you can kind of see how they work. But admittedly, you got a human being doing that. Let's give them an IQ of 120, which, let's be real, who among us is really at that level, doing their best, but really only having a few hours a day, and probably having a ton of clients, or at least 4 or 5 clients to keep the lights on. So how many hours of evaluation are you really getting from a mind that is really only capable of understanding so much? Flip that over to an AI tool. All of a sudden you have a thinking, a learning mechanism operating at an IQ of 150 plus 24/7, feeding every little bit of information into them to evaluate it more quickly than a team of 20 of us could do.
Yeah.
And then pumping out the recommendations so that someone with, minimal education like me can look at it and go, oh, that's what you recommend to make these ads perform better than ever. So, and then maybe 6
AI
months.
will even do that as well.
So we're not there yet, but you're right. That's the end goal.
Close.
So then, exactly. We think in about 6 months, and the way that AI goes, that probably mean 2 months, or heck, maybe it'll show up next week, but we're keeping our eye on it. Then obviously the goal is going to be, okay, now the AI tool automates to act on that, and they can even adjust the creative or the copy, all that stuff in real time. So very excited about that. And because at my agency, we really focus on the organic stuff that you can do, the stuff that you can do every day to become more attractive before we spend a penny on advertising. This is going to allow us to then take them into the advertising stage without all that sticker shock that traditionally came with a pay. So yeah, that's something that we're working on right now. And actually, I just flew out to Vancouver and signed my first 2 clients to work with us on that on a trial basis. So exciting stuff.
That's it. That's exciting. It is something that's going to change the industry a lot within digital marketing, is these agents that will be able to handle your, whether it be an email campaign, whether it be your ads campaign, just to actually truly optimize. And it's going to be different as well, because we might see some different ad copy out there that is totally different than we've ever seen, but it's going to create huge traction because it's totally different, because the agent knows, and it's going to be training off every single day on every single piece of data that gets brought back into the system. So that's something that I think everyone within the agency world, marketing world, is truly excited about. Now, this question I asked every single guest, and it kind of goes back to your word of mouth marketing, which obviously number one type of marketing you can ever have is word of mouth. Now, if you yourself wanted to scale your agency, or there's people who are listening to this that run an agency that want to scale their customer acquisition, in your opinion, what is the best method today to do that? Out of all of the different types of marketing you can do at the moment, what is that best type of marketing, in your opinion, to scale that customer acquisition?
And to peel back the curtain a little bit, you did give me this question in advance, and of all of the questions, this is the one that I really don't know that I have an answer. So here's what I'm going to say. And a little self-serving, but brand. Yeah. I think brand is what you really need to focus on. If you want to scale your business, you need to stop trying to be all things to all people and start being more of the ideal fit to a certain type of person. That is really going to help you from a word of mouth, because people tend to hang out with people that, do and act act and say the things that they like. So if if you and I click, how many times have we met a friend of a friend and we're instantly friends? Because of course we are, because if we get along, obviously your friend and I are going to get along for the most part. So if you want to scale, figure out exactly who you are. Instead of diluting that to be attractive to more people, double down on it to be super attractive to the right people. Because as somebody that owns an agency, I can tell you, you are way better off keeping clients and building what you do with them up than you are constantly finding new clients. So the best way that we scale is we get our foot in the door with someone. We take this amount, we prove ourselves. We get this amount, we prove ourselves. They give us this amount, we prove ourselves. And then because we give a shit, we're always looking out for new ways to spend their money in the interest of tactics that will provide for their goals. So that is how I've scaled. That's really the only way I know how to scale. The only other thing I would say is exhaust all your organic opportunities to promote your brand and advertise. But then at the end of the day, you got to put your money where your mouth is. So I made a mention kind of tongue in cheek earlier that I haven't spent $1 on advertising, but I plan to in 2026. So, take my message for what it's worth. I truly believe you should not be spending on marketing day one. You really need to get your story straight, and there's a ton of organic stuff you can do before you start spending. But once you've done it all and you really know who you are, there really is no substitute when it comes to scaling to having a budget. I'm constantly showing my clients that are trying to take over market space, overcome a competitor, just drive more sales. At some point in time, if you're not spending or you're not investing, what do you really expect? So give a shit about marketing, find somebody that's not going to rip you off, exploit all your organic opportunities, make sure you're doing the best for the clients that you have. And then once all that's done, go look for other people just like them. And one of the best things I've done is equip my existing clients to promote for me, whether it's providing them with a discount, whether it's doing the same for them. I got a chapter in here that says, if you want their business, become their client. I can't tell you how many clients I have that I just call on a regular basis and say, hey, so-and-so needs plumbing. So-and-so needs a drone. So-and-so needs energy services. Do unto others as you will have them do unto you.
Amazing. And build a network around it too, like you said. So if you have someone you're working with in Calgary that needs plumbing, you know a guy, you call him up because you have a network of like-minded individuals who are CEOs, who also run businesses, who also have the interests that you have. So you're going to have that massive network of great like-minded people who are also giving a shit and working hard and have talent in their own space. So great point there.
Exactly. We say it's cliche, but your network is your net worth.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how many of my wins are connected to my network. I would say probably all of them.
Amazing. And it's a true saying. Like if you look at anyone, I don't want to make any examples, but it's just true. If you look at anyone who's successful, look at who they spend their time with. And even if you're the third one that isn't successful yet, or you haven't made your millions or billions of dollars yet, you're going to, because you're around those like-minded people who are working towards those same goals or who have accomplished those same goals. So we're just on the end of this podcast here now. Looking ahead for Agency Atlas, what are some of those primary goals that you have? Where do you want to take it? Where do you want to see Agency Atlas in the future?
Oh, well, I'll be honest. We're pretty happy where we are right now. We've got a great team, very low turnover over the years. Our core is here and hungry and focused and, on brand. I guess we're just looking for more clients that are interested in our unique brand and marketing. Never against bringing on somebody new. So if you're unhappy with your current provider, or to my point earlier, you just want to maybe take a step away and see how somebody else thinks, there's very little risk involved in engaging Agency Atlas. Worst case scenario, you get some free insight that you choose not to act on.
Amazing. Some free value and adding value to your clients. Maybe they want to come to you later. Maybe they want to come to you now, but just getting a different opinion, because that's one of the biggest things is everyone has their own way of doing it. And one way might work great. The other way might work just as great. One way might not work as great. So with marketing, it kind of all depends on the direction you do go, but you can go multiple directions as well, depending on the execution and give a shit within the agency. I love that. I'm going to use that all the time now. That's freaking cool. Are there any new initiatives? Go ahead.
I was just going to say gas. A lot of people say gas, give a shit. So when I was at an event the other day and I brought it up thinking that it was something that I had come up with all myself, and they said, yeah, gas, I get it. I think the difference is we're not afraid to curse here. But yeah, I don't want to take claim for something that exists before. And sorry, Korson, one more thing. Yeah. My focus right now is getting in front of as many people as I can. So I've launched a speakers page on my website. They can check it out by going to agencyatlas.ca. Clicking on our work and finding the speaker page. So if you do have a brand that, or an organization or a group of people that, you do want to get invested in brand, you are excited, but you don't know where to start, or you're invested, but you got to get your team excited. I offer a ton of keynotes. They're engaging, they're quick. I've been told they're fun, and we obviously use as much humor and engagement as possible, because branding should be fun. One of the last chapters of my book, if you're not having fun with your marketing, man, where are you going to have fun with your business? So shout out if anyone wants to have a little more fun with their branding and marketing, or wants to convince other people that it's fun. Happy to help you out.
And thank you for that, Ryan. Or I don't know why I said Ryan. Thank you for that, Chad.
You can call me Ryan.
It's been a long day. But
no worries.
It's just the beginning of the day. That's the funny part of it. But
They
final
don't.
question.
You don't know when they're going to see this.
That's true. That's true. Final question for this episode, Chad, and this is a big question because I want everyone who's listening to this episode to take some Easter eggs or some little nuggets home with them. What is your best piece of advice for maybe a young entrepreneur starting out, or maybe a young individual starting out within the marketing industry?
Figure out what your brand is and live it unapologetically. I regularly sign off my videos on social media by saying, until we meet again, keep living your brand how only you can with gusto. You're not going to be someone else. If you want to be successful, you're going to be yourself. Take the time to figure out things like your values, who will hate you based on what you do, who will love you, who hates what you hate, who's already doing what you do but not as good, and how do you make it real clear that you're not them. I think leaning into your brand is absolutely the best advice that I can give anybody.
Amazing. And that's kind of where this whole conversation has been tailored around. And so if they listen to this far, I really hope they take some notes throughout this conversation, because there's been some great nuggets and Easter eggs dropped throughout this whole conversation. So Chad,
just buy the book.
There you go. There you go. Chad, thank you for coming on. Do you have anything else to, any other words, kind words to tell the audience? Where can they find you? Maybe, I know you already dropped your website, social medias, YouTube, whatever.
Yeah. I'm the only Chad Hason on the planet, so feel free to check me out. I'm online, LinkedIn. I post quite often. Again, you can find my book, Amazon, anywhere, local bookstores here in Calgary. And I just want to say kudos to you, Korson. You're way younger than I was when I started truly giving a shit about this. So I think it's wonderful that you're doing this, that you're putting this out here, that you're engaging those of us that value digital marketing and brand marketing in general. So thanks for having me on, and I encourage you to keep it up. You're in the beginning stages of a brand that I'm sure will go places.
Yeah, thank you, Chad. I really appreciate you taking the time. Thank you for all the kind words you just spoke about, and I really hope someone finds this episode find some value in this episode, and I look forward to staying in touch. So thank you, Chad.
Thanks, bud. Cheers.